The station was quieter now. The alarms had stopped, and the flashing red lights dimmed to soft blues. Tom stood near the entrance to Cargo Bay 12, watching the empty corridor. The echoes of battle and footsteps had faded, leaving only the hum of machinery. Riala's ship had gone into the dark stretch of space hours ago. Tom wondered what awaited her beyond the stars, a return to her people, or more battles still to come. He rubbed his tired hands together and looked around the bay. The crates and equipment were the same, but everything felt changed. The secrets he had uncovered, the danger he faced, and the trust he earned. It all made the station feel less like a place for repairs, and more like the center of something greater. Tom turned as footsteps approached. It was Mira, one of the station's security officers. Her face was serious, but her eyes held a flicker of respect. "You did well, Tom," she said. Not many could have stayed calm in that situation. Tom smiled tiredly. "I had good reasons." Mira nodded. "Riala's story, it changes how we see things. There are more beyond our world, and not all of them are enemies." Tom looked back toward the docking ring, still visible through the large windows. The stars were bright tonight, untouched by the station's lights. "We helped her," he said. "Not just for her, but for all of us. If we can understand each other, maybe we can avoid wars." Mira agreed. "The station council will want to hear about this. They need to know what's happening out there." Tom sighed. "I'm ready to tell them, but I hope they listen." Days passed, and the station returned to normal duties: repairs, shipments, and the quiet routines of space life. Yet beneath the surface, things had shifted. Tom found himself more alert, more aware. Every shadow, every sound could mean more now. He often thought of Riala and her strength. She was not just a warrior, but a leader who fought for her people's future. One evening, as Tom finished his shift, a message appeared on his personal terminal. It was from Riala. "Tom, you showed courage beyond the call of duty. The path ahead is long, but you are not alone. I will return when the time is right. Until then, keep safe." Tom stared at the message, a mixture of pride and hope swelling inside him. He typed a reply. "I will be ready. Thank you, Riala." The days turned into weeks. Tom worked on the station but also prepared himself for the unknown. He studied alien technologies left behind, learned new languages, and kept an eye on unusual activity. The station council held meetings about the Terran clans and the conflict that had briefly touched their home. They decided to increase defenses and look for peaceful contact. Tom was asked to share his experience. His calm and clear words helped the council see the importance of trust, even between very different beings. One morning, as Tom walked along the observation deck, the station's communications buzzed suddenly. A ship was approaching. It was not hostile. It bore the markings of a Terran flag. Riala's return had come sooner than anyone expected. Tom felt a thrill of anticipation. The future was uncertain, but the door had opened. Maybe this time, both worlds could find a way to live side by side. As the new ship docked, Tom stood ready to meet his friend again, the giant warrior who had changed everything. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, he felt hope. Hope for peace. Hope for unity. Hope for a new beginning. The deep black of space stretched endlessly around the Earth vessel Stellar Wind. Its silver hull reflected the faint glow of nearby stars as it moved slowly through the emptiness. Inside, the hum of the engines was constant, steady, and familiar to the crew who had been traveling for months. Rian, a young systems engineer, sat at his console in the engineering bay. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he monitored the ship's power output. He liked the routine. Most days were quiet, just systems checks, small repairs, and the occasional call from the bridge. But today, something felt different. The readings on his display were strange. There was a faint energy signal coming from ahead of the ship, one he had never seen before. He leaned closer to the screen. The signal was strong but unusual. Its frequency didn't match any known ship, station, or beacon. Before he could call anyone, the ship's alert system came to life. The soft hum of the engines was joined by a sharp alarm. Red lights flashed across the walls. "Unidentified contact, starboard side," came the calm but urgent voice of Commander Hale over the intercom. "All crew to stations." Ryan's heart began to race. He had read about unexpected contacts in training, but seeing one happen for real was different. He logged the signal data and quickly left the engineering bay, heading for the observation deck. When he arrived, several crew members were already pressed against the wide viewing glass, eyes locked on a distant glimmer. At first, it looked like a star, but it was growing larger. Slowly, the shape became clear. It was a ship, massive, and unlike anything Ryan had ever imagined. Its body was shaped like a perfect silver crescent, the size of a small city. Around it swirled a faint haze of blue light, like a cloud made of energy. "It's not on any registry," said one of the officers, his voice low. The stellar wind slowed, keeping a safe distance. The alien vessel stopped as well, hanging silently, in the void. The blue haze around it pulsed, almost like it was breathing. Then it happened. Without warning, a beam of light extended from the alien ship, stopping just short of the stellar wind. The light shifted and solidified, forming a figure in the middle of the observation deck. The crew gasped and stepped back. It was a hologram, tall, regal, and unmistakably alien. The figure's skin shimmered like polished metal, and her eyes were bright silver-gray pools. A crown of sharp, curved points rested on her head, glowing faintly with the same blue light as the ship. She stood with a straight back and an expression of command. "I am Queen Allura," the figure said, her voice calm yet carrying a weight that filled the room. "Ruler of the Crescent Throne, you have been observed and judged." The crew exchanged uncertain glances. Ryan stayed near the back, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. Captain Marlowe stepped forward, his voice steady. "This is Captain Marlowe of the Earth vessel Stellar Wind. We are an exploration ship. We mean no harm." The Queen tilted her head slightly, studying him. "And yet, your people have done what should be impossible." Her words made the room even more tense. Nobody knew what she meant. "What impossible thing?" the captain asked. "You have repaired the failing shield of your homeworld without the aid of the higher races," Allura replied. "Our records say no species has ever reversed such decay alone. It should not be within your reach." Her tone was not anger, but disbelief. Ryan felt his stomach twist. He remembered the mission reports from Earth, how years ago, scientists had restored the planet's magnetic field using a vast network of orbital machines. It had been called the Last Chance Project. Most people thought it was just human determination and ingenuity. But to this alien queen, it was something else entirely. "Perhaps you have been given help in secret," Allura continued, her silver eyes narrowing. "Perhaps you have broken laws you do not understand." Captain Marlowe shook his head. "We acted alone. We worked together. That is all." The Queen's expression hardened. "That cannot be. If you speak truth, then the universe is not as... I have known it for my entire reign." The hologram flickered for a moment, then reappeared, sharper and brighter. Allura's gaze swept the room until it stopped on Ryan. "You," she said. The crew turned to look at him. Ryan froze. "Me?" "Yes. You will speak with me directly." Ryan felt every eye on him. "Why me?" "You are not the commander," Allura said. "You are not a politician. You are a maker, a builder. Those who shape worlds know truths, Others do not. Ryan hesitated, but Captain Marlowe gave a small nod. Slowly, Ryan stepped forward until he stood near the front. Allura looked at him with the same intensity as a scientist examining a rare specimen. "Tell me, builder of your people, how did you do it?" Ryan opened his mouth, then closed it. "We didn't think about whether it was possible or not," he finally said. "We just tried. We failed many times, but we didn't stop." Allura studied him for a long moment. "You speak as if persistence alone bends the laws of nature." "Maybe it does," Ryan replied quietly. The Queen's eyes narrowed again, but not in anger, in thought. "We will speak more. Prepare yourself." With that, the hologram dissolved, leaving the crew in silence. The alien ship remained outside, its silver crescent glowing against the dark. Ryan stood still, his heart pounding. Whatever was about to happen next, it was clear his life, and maybe all of humanity's, had just changed forever. The crew of the Stellar Wind remained silent after the alien Queen's hologram vanished. The hum of the ship's systems filled the room, but no one moved or spoke. Ryan stood near the front, feeling the weight of every gaze on him. He had not expected to be singled out, and he certainly had not expected to be asked about something that could change the course of history. Captain Marlowe finally broke the silence. "Ryan, report to the briefing room, now." Ryan nodded, his thoughts still spinning. He followed the captain down the corridor, the steady thump of his boots echoing on the metal floor. Inside the briefing room, the senior officers gathered. Quickly, the captain stood at the head of the table, arms crossed. "That was Queen Allura of the Crescent Throne," he said firmly. "If our translators are right, her people control a large part of this region of space. They have fleets, colonies, and enough firepower to crush us in seconds." One of the officers leaned forward. "Why would she call our repairs to Earth's shield impossible? Surely they have seen other worlds restore themselves." The captain shook his head. "Apparently not. From her words, it seems this act is unheard of in their records, and now she has chosen Ryan to speak with her." All eyes turned to Ryan. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I don't know why. I'm not a diplomat." "Maybe that's why she wants you," the captain said. "You think like an engineer. She might believe you'll tell the truth without trying to shape it for politics." Before anyone could say more, the intercom crackled. "Incoming transmission from the alien vessel," the bridge officer reported. "Direct request for Ryan." The captain nodded slowly. "Put it through here." A moment later, the room filled with the shimmering light of the hologram. Queen Allura appeared once again, tall and unshaken, her crown catching the glow of the projection. "Ryan," she said, her voice strong but calm, "you will come to my ship." The officers shifted uneasily, but Ryan kept his voice steady. "Why?" "Because I require truth, not stories," she replied. "And truth must be seen, not only heard." The captain leaned forward. "With respect, Your Majesty, taking one of my crew to your ship without assurance of safety is—" "You have my word," Allura interrupted, her silver eyes fixed on him. "No harm will come to him while he is under my roof. But I will not speak through walls and shadows." The captain hesitated, then looked at Ryan. "This is your choice. You don't have to go." Ryan thought about it. Every instinct told him it was risky, maybe even dangerous. But another part of him, the part that had signed up for exploration, for pushing into the unknown, knew this was exactly why he had come into space. "I'll go," he said quietly. The Queen inclined. Her head. "Prepare yourself. My vessel will extend a bridge." The hologram vanished, leaving the room in a tense silence. Minutes later, Ryan stood in the airlock, wearing his standard suit with a comm unit clipped to his chest. Through the small window, he could see the alien ship more clearly now. The crescent shape was smooth and unbroken, as if it had been carved from a single piece of silver stone. The blue haze around it pulsed slowly, each wave spreading outward like ripples on water. A beam of light extended from the alien ship to the stellar wind, forming a narrow, glowing corridor between them. The inner airlock door opened, and Ryan stepped into the bridge of light. The moment he set foot on it, the sensation changed. The surface beneath him felt solid, yet it shifted faintly with every step, like walking on glass over deep water. Around him was only the black void of space, the stars distant and cold. It was a short walk, but it felt much longer. At the far end, an opening appeared in the crescent hull, and Ryan stepped inside. The interior of the alien ship was nothing like Earth's vessels. The walls were curved and smooth, faintly glowing with lines of blue energy that pulsed like veins. The air was fresh with a faint metallic scent. 2 tall guards stood waiting. They wore armor that matched the ship's silver walls, and their helmets had a sleek, faceless design. Without a word, they turned and began to walk. Ryan followed, his boots making almost no sound on the smooth floor. They led him through a series of wide halls until they reached a large chamber. The ceiling arched high above, lit by soft, shifting light. At the far end, on a raised platform, stood Queen Allura. Her crown gleamed under the chamber's light, and the long silver robe she wore seemed to flow like water as she turned to face him. Her gaze was sharp, but there was a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "Ryan of Earth," she said, "you stand in the heart of my ship. You are the first of your kind to do so." Ryan kept his voice calm. "I'm honored." She studied him for a long moment. "Your people have done something no world in my records has achieved. You have restored your planet's shield without intervention. The laws I have known all my life say this cannot be done. And yet here you stand, proof that it was done." Ryan shrugged slightly. "Maybe your laws need to change." Allura's lips curved in the smallest hint of a smile, but it faded quickly. "You speak as if change is simple. My throne rests on certainty. Certainty holds my empire together. If your people have done what is thought impossible, then that certainty begins to crack." She stepped down from the platform, each step slow and deliberate. "So I ask you again, how did you do it?" Ryan thought for a moment. "We learned what was broken. We found a way to fix it. We didn't stop when it failed the first time, or the 10th, or the 100th. We just kept going." Her eyes searched his face. "Persistence," she said softly, as if testing the word. "This is the weapon you used?" "It's not a weapon," Ryan replied. "It's who we are." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then she straightened, her voice regaining its commanding tone. "Then you will show me this persistence. You will walk with me through my ship, and you will speak of your people until I understand." Ryan nodded slowly. "All right." The guard stepped aside, and Allura motioned for him to follow. As they walked deeper into the ship, Ryan knew this was only the beginning. The Queen was not only questioning the past, she was beginning to question her own beliefs, and that, he thought, might change everything. Ryan walked beside Queen Allura through the curved halls of her ship. The walls glowed faintly with the same blue light that wrapped the vessel in space. Every few steps, the light seemed to ripple, like waves on a calm sea. The sound of their footsteps was soft, almost lost in the vastness of the corridors. The Queen moved with quiet grace, her long robe trailing behind her like a silver stream. She said little as they walked, but her eyes were always on Ryan, as if studying every detail of his face and manner. The guards followed a short distance behind, silent and watchful. Finally, they stopped before a large round doorway. It opened, without a sound, revealing a chamber lined with smooth silver walls and a long table at the center. On the table was a display, not a screen like on Earth ships, but a floating image made of light. It showed a rotating sphere, blue and green, surrounded by a faint shimmering field. Ryan recognized it instantly. That's Earth. Allura stepped closer to the image. Yes, this is how your world looks now, after you restored its shield. She touched the air, and the image shifted to show the same planet, but dimmer, with the shield cracked and fading. And this is what our records say it should be. Broken, unprotected, ready to fall. Ryan studied the image. We couldn't let that happen. Without the shield, we would have lost everything. The Queen's gaze stayed on the dim version of Earth. Many worlds have tried to do what you have done. All failed. Some were advanced beyond your level, yet you succeeded. Ryan hesitated, then said, Maybe we wanted it more. Allura turned to face him. Wanting is not enough in the universe I know. Power, resources, and knowledge decide who succeeds. Desire alone changes nothing. Ryan met her eyes. It changes us, and when we change, the world changes too. For a moment, her expression softened, but then she straightened and spoke with her formal tone again. You will tell me everything. How your people began, how they grew, how they fought to survive. I will know the truth, not the stories you tell each other. Ryan nodded. I can tell you, but it will take time. Then you will have time, she said simply. The hours passed as they moved through different sections of her ship. In one hall, Ryan saw vast windows that looked out into the darkness of space. In another, he saw gardens under artificial light, tall silver-leafed trees, pools of still water and flowers that glowed faintly in the air. Allura listened as he spoke of Earth's history. He told her of old struggles, wars, disasters, and mistakes, but also of discoveries, inventions, and moments of unity. He spoke of the Last Chance project that had restored the magnetic shield, and how it had been built by nations working together, sharing knowledge and resources. At times, the Queen asked questions that made Ryan pause. She wanted details, about failures, not just successes. She wanted to know how humans kept working after years of setbacks. She seemed puzzled each time Ryan answered with simple words like hope or responsibility. You speak as if these things are solid. Tools, she said once. They are, Ryan replied. You can't hold them in your hand, but you can hold them in your mind. And when enough people do that, it builds something real. Allura said nothing for a long while after that. Eventually, the walk ended in another grand chamber. This one had a wide open space in the center and tall silver pillars along the walls. At the far end was a large circular platform that glowed softly. The Queen stepped onto it and looked back at him. This is a transport pad. It will take us to your ship. Ryan was surprised. You're coming to the stellar wind? Yes, she said simply. If I am to understand your people, I must see your home among the stars. Ryan thought of how the crew would react. They might not be ready for that. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Then they will learn to be ready. The guards took their places at her side, and the light of the platform grew brighter. Ryan stepped on as well, feeling a faint vibration beneath his boots. There was a brief flash, and the world around him shifted. They appeared inside the Stellar Wind's main hangar. The sudden arrival made the crew nearby stop in their tracks. Some froze, others reached for tools or consoles, unsure what to do. Captain Marlowe entered quickly, his expression sharp but controlled. Your Majesty, he said, keeping his tone polite, our ship is at your service. Allura's gaze swept the hangar, noting every detail, the rows of equipment, the patched walls, the scent of oil and metal. This is smaller than I expected, she said. Ryan smiled faintly. We make the most of what we have. The Queen's attention shifted to him for a moment, and then she began to walk forward. The captain signaled for the crew to stand aside, as so. They moved through the stellar wind. Allura asked about everything she saw, the engines, the storage rooms, the navigation systems. She seemed fascinated by the imperfections. A scratch on the wall, a worn control panel, a hatch that stuck for a moment before opening. "Your ship shows its age," she said. "It's been through a lot," Ryan replied. "But it still works, because we keep it working." The Queen paused as if weighing his words, then continued walking. They reached the observation deck. Through the wide glass, the alien crescent ship floated in the darkness, its silver hull glowing faintly. Beyond it lay the endless stars. Allura stood silently for a moment, looking at her own ship from the outside. Then she turned to Ryan. "Your vessel is not perfect, yet you cross the stars in it without fear." "It's not about perfection," Ryan said. "It's about trust, in the ship, in the crew, and in ourselves." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then, without warning, she said, "I will speak with you alone." Captain Marlowe frowned. "With respect, Your Majesty." She lifted a hand, and the captain fell silent. The guard stepped back. Ryan felt the weight of her gaze. Whatever she wanted to say next, it was clear it would not be the same as the formal questions she had asked before. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this conversation was going to change the path they were on. The observation deck was quiet except for the faint hum of the ship's systems. The crew had stepped out at the Queen's command, leaving only Ryan and Queen Allura standing before the wide viewing glass. Outside, her crescent-shaped vessel floated like a silver moon against the darkness of space, the soft blue haze pulsing gently around it. Allura stood with her hands clasped behind her back. Her crown caught the dim light, and her eyes stayed fixed on the stars. Ryan waited, unsure whether to speak first. Finally, she turned her gaze toward him. "I have ruled the Crescent Throne for many years. In all that time, I have seen the rise and fall of worlds. I have read the records of 1,000 civilizations. Not once have I read of a people who repaired a dying planetary shield without the aid of a higher race." Her voice was calm, but there was a strange tightness in it. Ryan nodded slowly. "I understand why you're surprised, but that doesn't mean it's impossible." Allura stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Do you think I am a fool, Ryan of Earth? The forces that hold a shield in place are ancient and complex. Even my people, who have technology far beyond yours, could not restore one without help from the Star Forges. And yet your kind did it with machines of steel and fire built in low orbit." Ryan met her gaze. "Maybe your people never had to try the way we did. We had no choice. It was either fix it or die." For a moment, her expression hardened, but then she turned back toward the window. "You speak of desperation as if it is a strength." "It is," Ryan said simply. "When there's no other option, people can do more than anyone thinks they can." Allura stood in silence for a while. Her shoulders were straight, but there was a heaviness in her voice when she finally spoke again. "You may not realize it, but what you have done shakes more than my understanding of science. It shakes the laws my people have lived by for generations. Our power comes from the belief that certain things are fixed, unchangeable. If humans have changed one of those things, then what else might be possible?" "That's not a bad thing," Ryan said. "It means there's more out there to learn." She turned to face him again. "You speak lightly of this, but to me it is dangerous. If the foundation of an empire begins to crack, the whole structure can fall." Ryan thought for a moment. "Or it can grow stronger, because it learns to adapt." Allura's eyes searched his face. "Adaptation. My people pride themselves on control. We shape worlds to fit us. We do not change ourselves to fit the world. Perhaps that is why we failed where you succeeded. The queen's words hung in the air. She was no longer speaking like a ruler giving orders. She was speaking like someone questioning her own beliefs. She stepped away from the window and walked slowly toward the center of the room. Ryan followed, unsure where this was leading. Her voice was quieter now, but it carried a strange weight. When I was young, before I took the crown, I was taught that weakness was the greatest enemy. To admit not knowing something was to admit defeat. But standing here, I feel that belief slipping away. She stopped, turning to him. Her silver eyes were sharp, but not cold. When I first saw your world's record, I told myself it must be false. Now, after speaking with you and walking your ship, I am less certain. That's because you've seen who we are, Rian said. Not perfect, not the most advanced, but stubborn enough to keep going. Allura's lips curved slightly, though it was not quite a smile. Stubbornness is a word I know well, but I see now that in your kind it is more than refusal. It is movement forward, even when the path is broken. For a long moment she seemed lost in thought. Then she spoke in a tone that was both steady and heavy with meaning. This is impossible. Ryan almost smiled at the familiar phrase. Maybe, but here we are. Her gaze stayed on him, and something in her expression shifted. The steel in her posture eased just a little. Without warning, Allura reached up and touched the crown on her head. Her long fingers rested on its sharp, curved points for a moment. Then, in a slow and deliberate motion, she lifted it away. The crown was not just an ornament. It was a symbol of her authority, the weight of her rule. Without it, her presence felt different. She seemed less distant, more human in a way Ryan had not expected. She held the crown at her side and stepped closer to him. Her voice, though still clear, had lost its commanding edge. Do you know what this means, Ryan, for me to stand before you without this? I'm guessing it's not something you do often, he said. It is something I have never done, she replied. To remove the crown in the presence of another ruler, or even a subject, is to say that we speak as equals. Ryan blinked. Why me? Because you have shown me a truth I did not believe existed, and I cannot ignore it. There was no arrogance in her tone now, only a kind of quiet resolve. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. The hum of the ship and the distant sparkle of stars filled the silence. Finally, Allura said, This changes much for me, perhaps for both of us. I will return to my ship soon, but our conversation will continue. I have questions yet to ask, and answers I must give to my own people. Ryan nodded. I'll be here. She studied him for a moment longer, then placed the crown under her arm and turned toward the exit. Her guards were waiting outside, but when she stepped into the corridor, they looked at her with faint surprise. They had never seen their queen without her crown. If they wondered why, they said nothing. Ryan watched her go, his mind turning over the moment that had just happened. He knew she had not come to him just to test his story. She had come because something inside her had shifted. And maybe, just maybe, the impossible was no longer impossible for her. The day came when the rift in the sky opened wide enough to travel through. It was not a normal gate. It was made of swirling silver light and moving shadows. The air around it felt heavy and strange, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Ryan stood before the rift, wearing the armor given to him by the alien queen. The armor was not like human design. It was light as cloth, but strong as steel. Strange markings glowed softly on its surface, shifting like gentle waves. The queen had told him these marks would guide him in places where maps could not. Beside him, the alien queen stood without her crown. Her silver hair moved as if touched by invisible wind. She looked calm, but Ryan could see the deep focus in her eyes. She was not a ruler in this moment, but a companion on a dangerous path. "You must remember," she said, "the rift will test your mind more than your body. Inside, time is not the same. Thoughts can become real, and fears can shape the path." Ryan nodded. "I will keep my mind clear." The Queen gave a slight smile. "Few can." They stepped forward. The light of the rift swallowed them, and the world behind vanished. The inside was unlike anything Ryan had seen. It was not space, and it was not land. It was a place made of shifting colors and floating shapes. Some looked like stars, others like pieces of broken cities, drifting without weight. The ground beneath his feet was there one moment and gone the next, replaced by glowing threads of energy. At first, they walked in silence. The Queen seemed to know where to go. She followed the flow of glowing paths, her steps steady. But after a while, Ryan began to hear whispers. They were not in a language he knew, yet he understood their meaning. They spoke of failure, of doubt, of the hopelessness of his mission. They told him he was too small for the task, that the enemy beyond the rift would crush him. Ryan clenched his fists. "These are the tests you spoke of." The Queen glanced at him. "Yes. Do not let them grow stronger. If you believe the voices, they will shape the rift into a prison." He took a deep breath and focused on her voice instead. Slowly, the whispers faded. But the rift was not done with him. Ahead, the path split into three. Each road showed a different vision. On the left, Ryan saw Earth, peaceful and green, but empty of life. No people, no sound, only stillness. In the center, he saw the alien Queen, wearing her crown again, standing on a throne of light. But her face cold and distant as if she had never known him. On the right, he saw himself alone in darkness, holding a broken sword. The Queen stopped. "The rift is asking you to choose your fear. Which will you face?" Ryan thought carefully. The vision of Earth empty made his chest feel heavy, but he knew it was only a picture. The vision of the Queen, cold and distant, stung, but it was not the worst. The darkness alone, with no one beside him, was the fear he wanted to overcome most. He stepped onto the right path. The world around him changed. The light faded, and he was alone in black space. His footsteps echoed as if the ground was hollow. He called out, but no answer came. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. It was impossible to tell. The darkness pressed close, and his thoughts grew heavy. What if he failed? What if this path never ended? Then he remembered the Queen's words. Thoughts can become real here. If fear could shape the rift, so could hope. He closed his eyes and pictured light, not just any light, but the light of Earth's sun, warm and golden. He imagined the sound of wind, the scent of fresh rain, the laughter of people. A faint glow appeared ahead. Ryan walked toward it, and with each step the glow grew brighter. Soon the darkness melted away, and he was back beside the Queen. She gave him a nod. "You passed the first gate," she said, "but the rift has many more." The rest of the journey took them through strange places. They walked on bridges made of crystal, past rivers of liquid light, and crossed fields where gravity shifted like waves. At times, they had to move quickly to avoid shadow creatures that had no shape, yet moved with purpose. Finally, they reached a point where the rift narrowed into a single shining tunnel. Beyond it was a dark sky filled with strange constellations. "This is the exit," the Queen said. "Beyond it lies the enemy's world. Once we pass through, the true battle begins." Ryan felt the weight of her words, but he also felt ready. The rift had tried to break him, but it had not succeeded. He stepped forward with steady resolve. The Queen followed, and together they crossed into the unknown. The day came when the rift in the sky opened wide enough to travel through. It was not a normal gate. It was made of swirling silver light and moving shadows. The air around it felt heavy and strange, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Ryan stood before the rift, wearing the armor given to him by the alien queen. The armor was not like human design. It was light as cloth, but strong as steel. Strange markings glowed softly on its surface, shifting like gentle waves. The queen had told him these marks would guide him in places where maps could not. Beside him, the alien queen stood without her crown. Her silver hair moved as if touched by invisible wind. She looked calm, but Ryan could see the deep focus in her eyes. She was not a ruler in this moment, but a companion on a dangerous path. "You must remember," she said, "the rift will test your mind more than your body. Inside, time is not the same. Thoughts can become real, and fears can shape the path." Ryan nodded. "I will keep my mind clear." The queen gave a slight smile. "Few can." They stepped forward. The light of the rift swallowed them, and the world behind vanished. The inside was unlike anything Ryan had seen. It was not space, and it was not land. It was a place made of shifting colors and floating shapes. Some looked like stars, others like pieces of broken cities, drifting without weight. The ground beneath his feet was there one moment and gone the next, replaced by glowing threads of energy. At first, they walked in silence. The queen seemed to know where to go. She followed the flow of glowing paths, her steps steady. But after a while, Ryan began to hear whispers. They were not in a language he knew, yet he understood their meaning. They spoke of failure, of doubt, of the hopelessness of his mission. They told him he was too small for the task, that the enemy beyond the rift would crush him. Ryan clenched his fists. "These are the tests you spoke of." The queen glanced at him. "Yes, do not let them grow stronger. If you believe the voices, they will shape the rift into a prison." He took a deep breath and focused on her voice instead. Slowly, the whispers faded. But the rift was not done with him. Ahead, the path split into three. Each road showed a different vision. On the left, Ryan saw Earth, peaceful and green, but empty of life. No people, no sound, only stillness. In the center, he saw the alien queen, wearing her crown again, standing on a throne of light. But her face cold and distant as if she had never known him. On the right, he saw himself alone in darkness, holding a broken sword. The queen stopped. "The rift is asking you to choose your fear. Which will you face?" Ryan thought carefully. The vision of Earth empty made his chest feel heavy, but he knew it was only a picture. The vision of the queen, cold and distant, stung, but it was not the worst. The darkness alone, with no one beside him, was the fear he wanted to overcome most. He stepped onto the right path. The world around him changed. The light faded, and he was alone in black space. His footsteps echoed as if the ground was hollow. He called out, but no answer came. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. It was impossible to tell. The darkness pressed close, and his thoughts grew heavy. What if he failed? What if this path never ended? Then he remembered the queen's words. Thoughts can become real here. If fear could shape the rift, so could hope. He closed his eyes and pictured light, not just any light, but the light of Earth's sun, warm and golden. He imagined the sound of wind, the scent of fresh rain, the laughter of people. A faint glow appeared ahead. Ryan walked toward it, and with each step, the glow grew brighter. Soon the darkness melted away, and he was back beside the queen. She gave him a nod. "You passed the first gate," she said, "but the rift has many more." The rest of the journey took them through strange places. They walked on bridges made of crystal, past rivers of liquid light, and crossed fields where gravity shifted like waves. At times, they had to move quickly to avoid shadow creatures that had no shape, yet moved with purpose. Finally, they reached a point where the rift narrowed into a single shining tunnel. Beyond it was a dark sky filled with strange constellations. "This is the exit," the Queen said. "Beyond it lies the enemy's world. Once we pass through, the true battle begins." Ryan felt the weight of her words, but he also felt ready. The rift had tried to break him, but it had not succeeded. He stepped forward with steady resolve. The Queen followed, and together they crossed into the unknown.